airport, airport. A place where airplanes take off and land. Example: I arrived at the airport 2 hours before my flight. I arrived at the airport 2 hours before my flight. Check-in, check-in. The process of registering for a flight. Example: the check-in counter is over there. The check-in counter is over there. Boarding pass, boarding pass. A document that allows you to enter the plane. Example: I showed my boarding pass at the gate. I showed my boarding pass at the gate. Gate change, gate change. When the assigned boarding gate is moved to a different location. Example: there was a gate change for our flight. There was a gate change for our flight. Flight attendant, flight attendant. A person who helps passengers on a plane. Example: I asked the flight attendant for a blanket. I asked the flight attendant for a blanket. Pilot, pilot. A person who operates the aircraft. Example: the pilot announced that we would be landing soon. The pilot announced that we would be landing soon. Crew, crew. The staff on a plane who serve passengers. Example: the crew was very friendly and helpful. The crew was very friendly and helpful. Security check, security check. A procedure to ensure safety by checking passengers and their luggage. Example: I went through the security check before boarding. I went through the security check before boarding. Gate, gate. The area where passengers board or exit the plane. Example: my flight departs from gate 12. My flight departs from gate 12. Terminal, terminal. A building at an airport where passengers arrive and depart. Example: I waited for my flight in the terminal. I waited for my flight in the terminal. Luggage, luggage. Bags and suitcases that travelers carry. Example: Be careful with your luggage at the airport. Be careful with your luggage at the airport. Departure. Departure. The act of leaving, especially by airplane. Example: our departure was delayed by an hour. Our departure was delayed by an hour. Arrival. Arrival. The act of coming to a place, especially by airplane. Example: the arrival of our flight was on time. The arrival of our flight was on time. Duty free. Duty free. Shops at the airport where goods are sold without tax. Example: I bought perfume at the duty-free shop. I bought perfume at the duty-free shop. Carry on. Carry on. A small bag that passengers can take on the plane. Example: I have one carry-on bag. I have one carry-on bag. Overhead bin. Overhead bin. Storage space above the seats on a plane. Example: I put my bag in the overhead bin. I put my bag in the overhead bin. Runway. Runway. The long, hard surface where planes take off and land. Example: the plane sped down the runway. The plane sped down the runway. Tray table. Tray table. A small table attached to the back of a seat. Example: please fold your tray table after use. Please fold your tray table after use. Seat belt. Seat belt. A safety belt used in cars and planes. Example: please fasten your seat belt during takeoff. Please fasten your seat belt during takeoff. Baggage tag. Baggage tag. A label attached to luggage to identify the owner and destination. Example: the baggage tag has my name and flight number. The baggage tag has my name and flight number. Flight. Flight. A journey made by airplane. Example: our flight is scheduled for 8 p.m. Our flight is scheduled for 8 p.m. Customs. Customs. The place where your luggage is checked when you enter a country. Example: I had to go through customs when I landed. I had to go through customs when I landed. Passport. Passport. An official document for international travel. Example: I showed my passport at the immigration desk. I showed my passport at the immigration desk. Baggage claim. Baggage claim. The area where you pick up your checked luggage. Example: I went to baggage claim to get my suitcase. I went to baggage claim to get my suitcase. Aisle. Aisle. The walkway between rows of seats on a plane. Example: the flight attendant walked down the aisle. The flight attendant walked down the aisle. Immigration. Immigration. The process of entering a country and having your documents checked. Example: I went through immigration quickly. I went through immigration quickly. Layover. Layover. A short stay at a place during a journey. Example: I have a 2-hour layover in Dubai. I have a 2-hour layover in Dubai. Boarding. Boarding. The process of getting on an airplane. Example: boarding starts 30 minutes before departure. Boarding starts 30 minutes before departure. Airline. Airline. A company that provides air transport services. Example: I usually fly with a low-cost airline. I usually fly with a low-cost airline. Delayed. Delayed. When a flight is postponed to a later time. Example: I hope the delay won't be too long. I hope the delay won't be too long. Window seat. Window seat. A seat next to the window on a plane. Example: I always choose a window seat. I always choose a window seat. Departure lounge. Departure lounge. The area where passengers wait before boarding. Example: I relaxed in the departure lounge before my flight. I relaxed in the departure lounge before my flight. Taxi. Taxi. The movement of an aircraft on the ground before takeoff or after landing. Example: the plane began to taxi to the runway. The plane began to taxi to the runway.